It is day 3 of our Planet Zoo 2 feature week. After we talked about new features and habitat design, it's time to speak about overhauls, and these are inspired by other Planet games or Planet Coaster and Jurassic World Evolution, so let's dive into it. Well, in comparison to the other 2 episodes so far, our preparations over here are a bit more basic, but the reason for that is that usually these things are obviously in the other games. We don't have these things in Planet Zoo 1 because otherwise these wouldn't be overhauls derived from other games. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, to stay with the metaphor in the animal kind of area. We are talking about the pathing. I think this is one of the most hated features in the game because it's just clunky and problematic, just as it was in Planet Coaster. Frontier has done the bare minimum to, basically what they could with the existing engine to basically improve whatever they could. But I just took a very simple example of a tiny bridge just to showcase already the result, I am not going to do a full dive into how pathing works in Planet Coaster 2. If you are interested, I have a ton of tutorials on my channel, especially also a pathing in Planet Coaster 2. You can just check it out and you will be blown away by the amount of change that has happened to the pathing. So basically, it's a totally new pathing. You can literally do everything you want, and you can see over here that is a little curvy bridge that is not only curved as like a little bridge, it also goes wider and more narrow to the middle. Like basically it goes wider to the edges and more narrow in the middle. Something that is basically impossible to do in the game. This would be technically the pendant in this game, which looks almost like, comparing Minecraft to Unreal Engine 5 kind of things. But yeah, this is how that looks in Planet Coaster 2. Very nice, very tidy, and it's relatively simple to set up, and you can literally do anything. And as path design, specifically with habitats, is very tedious at times, this new pathing tool will come in handy. I think this is one of the few things where we can already put a check behind. It would be outrageous if Frontier is not going to take this new pathing system to literally the next Planet game. It just doesn't make any sense. They already took the exact pathing system from Planko 1 to Planet Zoo, so why wouldn't you take the same pathing system over? It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, pathing would be a mega overhaul, but not too surprising. Let's move on to some other cool stuff. Alright, what's that little setup over here of plants? Well, basically this is mimicking a scenery brush. I don't need to really talk too much about it. In this game, unfortunately, we don't have a scenery brush. What we are used to doing is basically, creating groups just like that over here in the ground, and then we were basically spamming these groups to create ourselves nice little areas, Something like that was kind of the pendant to having the scenery brush. But yeah, Planet Coaster 2 features a scenery brush, and what shall I say, it functions just as you can imagine, but there's a twist to it. In comparison to Jurassic World Evolution 3, that has a built-in scenery brush for prefixed biomes, so to say. They have wetlands, they've got forests, they have shrublands, whatever, and also some rocky areas you can use. In Planet Coaster 2, you can create the brush yourself, which is really ridiculous. It's one of the coolest features in the game, I think personally, because it just literally just levels up the amount of stuff you can do to beautify your area simply. And in a game like Planet Zoo, obviously, it would be even more meaningful because it'll help to create your habitats and your designs much more simple. So if you want to have a brush created just around some shrubs you want to have somewhere, you basically would go in and you would say, let's say fern, and you drop in some fern pieces like these, for example, and then you would say, okay, we also need some nettles. Hold on, if we can put them here. So just some of these in here, and then some. I always love periwinkle, for example. Let's use that one too. So have these things in, and then what you would create a brush, and what basically essentially the brush would do, it's going to push these things down to the ground in a pair of these and randomize the sizes and the rotation. And you can even control the rotation and the randomization of size. You can even say, I want the brush to go from, let's say, 50% size to 120% size and rotation only around the jaw or whatever. That is amazing, and you can even do so with other things. By the way, if you're wondering why certain plants in this game look a bit different than yours, I have the remaster for plants in this game as a mod installed, but that shouldn't harm us in this little area here. Just so if you're confused why my flowers look a bit different, they are the same. These are just like the overhauled ones, the remastered versions. just saying. So yeah, I would love to see that scenery brush being part of Planet Zoo 2. And again, I think that's a relatively simple check mark. But now let's go over to, well, because of knowing Frontier, let's go over certain things that I'm not entirely sure if they will do. So let's go to the next one. And the next one is basically a pair of two. This is the two things we got in Planet Zoo after launch. That's pretty cool. We received restaurants at a point and souvenir shops alike. And both of them are great. However, they are even greater in Planet Coaster 2. There are some very subtle but significant changes in how they function, and I'm just going to quickly talk you through in case you haven't played Planet Coaster 2 at all. You may not know, and they patched this for free after, I guess, like 4 months or so. We received those two things in the game, which is kind of cool. But the thing they changed is, first of all, with the restaurant, you can see the footprint of the main module is literally 1/6 of our restaurant piece. Like, this is a 6-tile big piece that is ridiculous. Like, if we go in here, you can see it's basically 6 tiles if you go with a 4x4 tile, or if you would reduce the grid to let's say 2 meters, it's even crazier. It is basically a 4x6. That is ridiculous, way too big. And the new piece is just like a 4x4 in here, if you will. So that's much more smaller. But what's also kind of cool is in Planet Zoo, you would link up these tables over here, and then people would actually go into the void here in the back, and they would beam to one of these places, so they would not go here. What was pretty cool when it comes to where you could put these things, you know, I did these kind of fake kayaks in which they were sitting and having meal or whatnot, or put them on the roof somewhere. That was possible. Now in this game, Planet Coaster 2, they did go for a bit more realism. You can see there are some of these trays over here, and people actually go up to these trays and they have their meal on the trays, and with those trays they literally go to a dedicated free table. The cool bit is you can put these tables literally anywhere on the ground, wherever you have laid out path, and because of the passing is so much better in the game, you can create some really cool custom designs of your areas, and then people would actually walk there using stairs and stuff to go there, which is really damn cool. And I would love to see that in Planet Zoo 2, because, well, in Planet Zoo 2 too, if that makes sense, because, you know, it's just functioning very well, and I would love to see that. So going over to the souvenir shops, they do function almost exactly identical, with one major change. You do not need these ground modules anymore. As you can see over here, we have these modular souvenir shop, which is basically this ground tile over here, and you can then add some tiles to it. But this is then the area in which the shop is, which always needs the people to walk in here. This is the connection piece. You have to connect the path to it. Well, in Planet Coaster, you can basically put your cashier kind of thing anywhere you want, connect your shelf pieces, and that's it. That's the souvenir shop. People will use it, no matter if it's outside somewhere, or if it's inside, or if it's in a building or not. You can literally build a maze, and people would use the maze to get to the shelves, because the game calculates the shop to wherever the link is between the cashier and the shelf, and it doesn't require any specific ground, which again, I personally find so much better. It's just so much more free, and you can create some very fun designs. You could even use these things, which obviously people already are doing in Planet Coaster 2. You can use these things to hide other things. You can make people go to information boards, for example, to have a look at them. So you can fake necessarily some other things. If you will do this, you could fake exhibitions. You can fake museums, what you want. That's pretty cool. You can literally do anything with it. I personally find this very cool. So these two things, I think there's a good chance we are going to receive these things exactly as is, because, you know, the overhaul they have already done for Planet Coaster 2 is really cool, and so why not give it us? But again, please have them in the base game and not have the same discussion yet again that we had in Planet Coaster 2. Anyways, move on to the next one. And that is a very obvious one too, as we have received the game Planet Coaster 2. People were really excited to see one major change, and that is a lighting update. This is the global illumination and basically a kind of ray tracing. Now, what that means is that interiors, for example, are finally fully dark. This over here, it doesn't look bad, but it's super unrealistic. This is not how the interior would look like. So if you look in here, the sunlight goes in, there's like a bit of shadow drawn from these walls over here, but necessarily there needs to be a lot more shade in that corner over here, and this light over here would be bouncy, so that area would be lit quite a lot more. And I've got a referral screenshot to how that looks in Planet Coaster 2. And to be honest, these billboards do not really do justice for how good it actually looks. Let me just rotate that a little so we can have a bit of a better look at it if the sunlight isn't going directly onto it. So you get a better idea of how insanely well the lighting is in Planet Coaster 2. You have bounce lights, you have ray tracing, you've got full global illumination that makes interiors that are completely sealed off, like if we were to just, you know, make that fully sealed off. And in Planet Coaster 2, if you were to go in here, this is becoming pitch black. Like you could literally not see anything. In this game, this is as dark as it gets, and especially for night houses, this is a disaster, because you cannot do any night houses for daytime. So whatever we do is we turn this obviously nighttime, so just like that, and then it finally becomes dark in here. But yet again, it doesn't become pitch black because it still has the moonlight kind of come in here, which is the, in a way, global illumination light from this game, but it's not like fully ray tracer. So the game has no information that this is inside, even though, funny enough, the game has obviously a system that can decide that this is inside of some sort, because you can have heat and so on in here. But yeah, it's never going to be fully dark, which is really a pity, specifically for making things really dark. And yeah, I would love to see this lighting update in the game. However, I do assume that this is pretty much happening. Otherwise, that would be kind of stupid, wouldn't it? Anyways, moving on. Okay, so this is most likely one of the lesser likely things to happen. Likely, again, as I said, don't do drinking games with my usage of some words that I do use a bit of, like inflation. Anyways, these are platforms. Now, for those of you who don't know, these platforms are basically motors that do certain movements. In Planet Coaster 2, you use these things to create animatronics. You can create custom animatronics, scare jumps and whatnot for your dark rides, and you can basically create anything. And we've got crazy people like Taggy3D who is using these things to, I don't know, I'm just waiting for the moment where he's basically making Minecraft inside of Planet Coaster with these things. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, you can use these things and then set them to certain movements. Like for example, this one over here slides always from the left to the right on that little rail, and you can decide how fast it can go, if it should stop over there and not. And then you can use these blue nubsies over here. These are attachment points, and you can literally attach any kind of scenery piece to this thing. And everything that is attached to this platform will move with this platform in the same movement that you've set this to. So that is fantastic to create any kind of dynamic content. So why would you have this in a zoo game? Not only to make kind of scenery, but you could make custom enrichment items, for example, with these things. You could make custom doors, custom gates, custom whatever. You can even create some cool animations to the outside. You can have some, I don't know, billboards moving. You can have some shades adjusting. So you could, for example, have an indoor. Let's say you have like a greenhouse, you know, or like a desert house, and then you have like adjustable headlights, for example, that you can kind of turn on and off with a button, because these things are connected to a sequencer. That's kind of a piece called a sequencer, and that sequencer is used to play these animations. And if you go into first person, you can actually activate that by pressing E on the keyboard, or F it is, I believe. You can actually activate them, and people even already started creating some mini games within Planet Coaster 2 with these things. So I think specifically for the first person mode and so, these platforms would be absolutely madness. Last but not least, this is a last minute addition to my list. Actually, I have not even put it on my list, but while I was preparing this video for you, I found one major piece of overhaul that I've not really seen before, but Switching between Planet Coaster 2 and Planet Zoo so often lately, I realized, and this is maybe a surprising thing to say, many people might be very surprised by that, but Planet Coaster 2 has introduced a bunch of quality of life updates that you don't really realize until you go back to Planet Zoo, for example. So what I mean by that is, unfortunately, the UI in Planet Zoo is much better than in Planet Coaster, or I should say, fortunately, it depends of your point of view. Anyways, the UI in Planet Coaster 2 is kind of bad, but they have introduced certain things within the UI that are pretty cool. So first things first, if we are in construction over here, we have a search bar. You know, you can type in whatever you want. So let's say brick. If you want to delete brick, I want to be able to select them all, and usually what I do is Control A on my keyboard to select it all, which does not work. In Planet Coaster 2, that works. You can basically select all and delete, press delete, everything is deleted, and you can keep on talking. It seems like a little bit, but it's pretty damn cool. Then, if you go, for example, to the projection screen, you can select certain media types over here. You can refresh the folder, that's cool, but in Planet Coaster 2, there is a search function and a group function within the pieces. You can even kind of do these within, like you've got everything in one list, or you can have two lists. You've got your favorites, or you've got videos and normal pieces in here alike. But the cool bit is you can search for them, or in the list you can even press a letter and it will jump to the dedicated letter. As you can see over here, I have quite a lot of things in here, and it becomes at times very hard to find the one piece you want to go for. And you can also see that some of the sorting isn't really nice in here, which is also kind of weird. So in Planet Coaster 2, that is pretty nicely fixed, you know. There are certain things fixed. And also one thing that I do find better than in Planet Coaster 2, Planet Zoo, is how you paint basically stuff areas. I mean, that's literally the only thing that's better about stuff, but the idea that you can just paint out where your stuff area should be, or your kind of work zone area is, opposed to that weird system in here when you go and, you know, kind of create a work zone by just kind of dragging around the pieces that they should work with. I never really liked the system, to be honest. It just got clunky at times to understand where certain areas are. I would love to see this overhaul to bring this in, but yeah, most likely these kind of little quality of life updates within the menu with like searching, multi-select and all these kind of things, I really would love to see from Planco 2. And also another thing that they have done is in this game it functions already by double clicking on the pathway, you enter the pathway editor. However, double clicking on the terrain or anywhere else doesn't really do much. In Planet Coaster 2, they have kind of streamlined this. A double click on any type of whatever in the game will open up the editor of the very thing. So double tap on the terrain will edit the terrain editor, double tap on the lake will update the lake editor, double tap on scenery is going to bring you into the scenery mode, double tap on buildings is going to bring you into the facility mode, and oh my god, there is some teasers for the next episode, which is broken. It's broken. But yeah, double tap on the habitat barrier over here does bring you in, so it's kind of streamlined like that. I would love to see this with everything in this game as well, because it makes just the accessibility just so much better. Anyways, that's been it, so let's go in for a tiny conclusion. Okay, Planet Zoo is genuinely a great game, and I do believe that all the overhauls that we would see from the other games, they are not as much as you would expect them to be, which is because Planet Coaster 2 did maybe not deliver as much as people would hope, and Jurassic World Evolution 3 might still be too much of a different game compared to the Jurassic and the Planet franchise. However, as you've seen, there are a couple of things that would be lovely to be seen from the other games as overhauls. Most likely things that we've already seen in this game, in Planet Zoo 1, that have been overhauled in Planet Coaster 2, as I hope we have the same overhaul there as well. Speaking of Jurassic World Evolution 3, they have an even more updated variant of the Global Illumination, which even does cast shadow with in-game pieces, which is an addition that we don't have in Planet Coaster 2. I do hope that this is a thing. However, I may actually say that right away. I would have seen this way more importantly for Planet Coaster 2, because casting shadows in Dark Rise is much more important than having shadows or like casted shadows of pieces in, let's say, for example, night houses or so, because they are most likely very dark anyways. So yeah, I would still love to see that, but just saying it's maybe not the most important thing in the world. However, these things I would love to see from the Planet Coaster game, specifically from Planet Coaster 2, and I would would love to see this. Really, really damn cool. And I could open up the box that I'll prefer the menu on the left-hand side from Jurassic World Evolution more, which I've talked about in the UI update for Planet Coaster 2. But as I like the Planet Zoo UI as it is, I don't see this as a major overhaul. So let's skip that one for now. But what we don't skip is the next episodes, which is going to be insane. We're going to talk more about in tomorrow's episode about animals. We're going to talk about the management, and we're going to talk about some wildcards. And for those of you who just for whatever reason flicked into this episode, we have already talked about new features and habitat design. So if you're interested for the week, keep on subscribing to the channel. Make sure to like the video and share it with your friends if you think they would like it. I'm looking forward to speaking to you tomorrow, and I would wish you guys all a very wonderful week. Talk to you hopefully tomorrow. Until then, have a good one and bye.